Hey, what is going on YouTube? Aaron here. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. And guys, we are in a ship that I have not played in a while, and I believe this ship, as well as a few others, have got a new lease on life in World of Warships Legends. Now, you may be asking what I mean by that. Well, ships like the Mino, the Holland, the Smalland, the Pan-Asian cruisers, and a host of others have essentially gotten a shadow buff, or silent buff, as some people want to call it in the conspiracy community. Now, of course, those are really not real things. However, with the recent rework to aircraft carriers and then the additional adjustment to them, these ships now have a better role in serving your team in terms of anti-aircraft fire as well as concealment with your smoke screens. Now, of course, a ship like the Minotaur, aka the Mino, didn't need any sort of help as she was already one of, if not the best DPM ship at Legendary tier. That rate of fire combined with her torpedoes, concealment, and smokescreen and radar capabilities, she is near the top in terms of effectiveness as an overall cruiser. But of course, as everything in Legends should be, there is a balancing factor, and that is your Citadel is the size of most Americans. However, you combine all of those attributes we mentioned, the DPM, the concealment, the smoke, and the torpedoes, on top of a platform now that has pretty gruesome AA, and you have yourself a very versatile, effective cruiser. And that is exactly what we highlight and showcase in this game right here. Now, let's get into the strategy portion of this game. We spawn central here with a few of our division mates, and of course, spawning central, you should try and hold central or create somewhat of a crossfire, especially on a map like this when there is a good amount of islands that you can utilize for cover. Shout out to our friendly blue destroyer for spotting the Shima, and I believe connecting a torpedo, as well as to our Giuseppe for radaring. We take a few salvos there, and that is a quick elimination on that enemy Shima, as well as the other Lucian on the red team for a well-placed zoning torpedo. I'm guessing most of those are lucky torpedo hits. However, that is why you always throw out those blind torpedoes, especially on ships like the Yoshino, the Holland, those ships with kind of long-range torpedo capabilities. And speaking of long-range torpedo capabilities here, with our concealment as low as it is and the new spotting mechanic for planes, we have the ability to semi-stealth torp this Stalingrad here as he is pushing into this central location. Now, this is definitely a dangerous spot, especially with the long-range radar from that Stalingrad. However, what we're going to do is kind of get ourselves into this forward island cropped position here, and this is one of the best maps for playing a central location. However, I do like to run the smoke on the Mino when you find yourself on a map that doesn't have the best island concealment, or on a particular spawn that you can't really get into the necessary cover that you need with this ship. And here is a perfect example of that. This main is spotted by our destroyer here, or one of our ships out there on the flank. He is within range. Now, of course, we could have been kind of hugging this island here as we connect one of those single-fire torpedoes. I probably should have just widespread what, the quote-unquote widespread is for the British here, as I probably would have connected at least one or two more. You're kind of going all in when you single fire your torpedoes. If they move at all whatsoever, you end up missing most. However, sometimes if they do sail in a straight line, which Legends players love to do, you can end up with that meme-worthy dev strike. But here, this Stalingrad is in a pretty rough position. His guns are also facing the other way, so even if he did radar, we would probably be rather safe. However, there is a main and another battleship out there on our right, but a good combination of disgusting DPM from this ship, as well as a few friendly torpedoes. And yeah, the enemy is now down 3 ships, with us having eliminated 2 of them. And right on cue, we see why it is not a good idea to kind of sail out in the open in the very large citadel of the Mino class ship, where the Brisbane is the Australian variant of that, having access to HE but no smokescreen. I got trolled a little bit here, not really getting those citadels. However, he was turning out. We did connect a few, and yeah, if you just pay attention to that DPM, we had about 3,000 or 4,000, from connecting a few salvos on that Shima. In quick succession, we got ourselves 3 kills and 66,000 damage. On top of that, we were never really in any danger besides, of course, being detected by the aircraft carrier, and of course, with the new mechanic, we are not detected to the other surface ships. So we are able to kind of sail between those islands without really risking a broadside to the enemy.
Visibly striking.
Now, this is, of course, one of those Legends games where if you're on the red team, you're just kind of looking at yourself and saying, man, I hope no one on my team has a job operating heavy machinery, because it is about at the 5-minute mark and this game is all but determined. There's still a few enemy ships left to farm, however, and these situations provide good examples of just how insanely deadly the Mino can be. And yes, just in case you were wondering and you don't speak proper English, it is called the Mino, even though it's pronounced Minotaur. So I know I'm going to get at least one comment. Every time, it never fails. It's like, oh yes, you didn't say it right. It's Tuesday, isn't it? No, I'm just kidding. I love my lads from across the pond for a few reasons, one of which being they gave us this beautiful ship right here. I put up my build earlier in the game, but I'll go ahead and throw it up again. We are running the AA modification slot in slot 1 there, which, again, with the frequency at which carriers are in the game now, I think it is definitely something you should consider. Now, we of course built our Mino for kind of concealment and DPM here with Yamamoto and Mikawa as inspirations. However, you can spec it for Agile with a radar. I just personally don't think that that is the more effective build, especially given the circumstances now with the frequency of carriers in the game. Now, of course, some people are going to disagree with me, and that's fine. Let me know your reasons down below. I'm just giving people a recommendation, especially what works for me. As in this situation, we are not running any kind of maneuverability traits whatsoever, and we were able to easily dodge that main's salvo at mid-range here. And with the kill on that main, we are now at 4 kills, with only a piggy left to find.
Block this Yoshino, dog. Nautical, have a good night, Daddy.
Now, of course, this was one of those games where if I was on the Reds, I would be questioning whether or not my teammates actually had posable thumbs or if they were real people. And of course, we are all going to get those games. However, I feel like this game perfectly highlighted how dangerous the Mino can and will continue to be, especially now with aircraft carriers being a lot more prevalent in the game.
70s, I guess they won a bunch.
Dude, have they won that many?
Yeah, I didn't.
But here are the finishing touches from this game, and actually I want to give a little credit to the enemy carrier. Instead of running to the back of the map, he said, you know what, my team folded, I'm gonna not make this last longer than it needs to, and he actually got a high caliber in the process. And just look at this DPM. Now, of course, we're hitting the side here, and we actually get trolled in just a minute, but make sure you're hitting those chunky armor belts or side platings and not, you don't want to shatter the shells on the deck. As you see, we have a few bounces and shatters here. And do we get the Kraken? Unfortunately not. Like I said, we were trolled by Doc, so he is now removed from my MySpace top 8s. But just perfect examples of, despite us not having the most open targets for a majority of the game, we still managed a pretty gnarly damage total with excellent XP and a great impact for our team. Now, we weren't necessarily focused by the carrier or had, an enemy that was targeting us for a majority of the game. But again, putting yourself in those positions to be defensive while also dishing out the insane DPM that the Mino can is going to be the kind of secret to playing this ship. But let me know if you guys enjoyed that one and what other ships you are going to try, especially now with carriers being the way they are. You guys have a great day. Love you guys. Hey, you're on out. Peace.